The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, North County, Washington, on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 34259. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We're going to get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just down at the front bumper, on the face of the front bumper, passenger side, is where you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving just inward of that location, you'll find tow hooks located protruding from the face of the front bumper. Moving just inward of that location, you'll find your siren and PA speaker. Moving all the way to the driver's side face front bumper again, you'll find dual air horns. Let's move up onto the bumper extension, where you'll find a 2.5-inch swivel discharge. Moving just inside of that location, you've got a cutout in your front bumper tray. D-handle opens it up. Inside, you'll find dry deck material. Let's move up to the body now, where you'll find your headlight structure housing the low and high beam headlights. The high beam is on the inside, and just up from that, you'll find an emergency light and turn indicator marker. Just up from this location is where we're going to find 2 grab handles, passenger side and driver's side. And above that, you'll find a seamless windshield housing 3 windshield wipers for that. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, starting with the passenger side, face of the front bumper, mechanical siren just behind that grill, and then we're also going to find emergency siren PA speakers in the center, air horns out on the driver's side. As we move to the extension area, we're going to find a tubbed storage location, dry deck material inside. As we move back up to the cab area, you're going to find a marker or clearance light. Let's jump from this location back down, where you'll find on the side-facing emergency warning light, and then also at the very top, we're going to find your 2.5-inch discharge swivel. From this location, let's go to the headlight structure, low and high beam. High beam once again on the inside. As we go up, we'll take a look at the American flag Pierce logo. And then as we now move to the side, driver's side of the cab, we'll identify a few items here. Just as a reference point, we're going to start in the lower left-hand corner with that bumper extension emergency warning light. Up again, the clearance light. As we move down back into the step well, we'll find your auto eject plug. And then as we move through the other items, we've got handles here for grabbing for your door handles. These are large for accessing with a glove. And you'll also find grab handles at all points of entry for personnel. Moving up to the very top of the image or top of the extension raised cab is where you'll find a side-facing floodlight. As we move to the very back section, you'll find an emergency warning light. And as we move to the very top section, rear of the cab, is where you'll find your side-facing water tank level indicator. Let's go ahead and now move to the midsection of your apparatus. The pump panel in the upper left-hand corner is where your pre-connects are located. There are 3 in the upper left, in addition with a dead load. Because of those pre-connects, we do have the ability of entanglement hazard. That's why we have this warning label here. As we move to the very top of the pump panel, you'll find 2 large gauges. This is your pump intake master gauge and your pump discharge master gauge. As we move down just to the right-hand side, next to the switch panel, you'll find 2 plugged ports. This is the vacuum and pressure test gauge ports. As we move over by the Pierce logo, you're going to find your intake relief valve. It is adjustable. The instructions are on the actual placard of the relief valve. On the right, we're going to find this gray module, which houses a lot of switches, in addition with an indicator for pump OK, and it's been engaged. As we move to the right, we'll find your engine cooler. As we move down across the midsection, you're going to find all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. To the very far right, you'll find your primer with instructions at least 1,000 for minimum RPMs for best practices. Down the lower left, we're going to find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in a moment. Your large diameter passenger side discharge. The red module is going to be your Husky foam system. There are instructions and specifications on the placards just below. To the right, you'll find a indicator, the amount of foam in your foam tank. Just next to it, you'll find an indicator for the amount of water in your water tank. Moving just to the right, you're going to find your throttle pressure governor. We'll talk a little bit about that module in the next few images as we have some close-ups. And then just to the right, you'll find your tank fill and tank to pump. As we move down from this location, you'll find your 2.5-inch discharge. It's with a elbow located on the front section of it. Once again, the lower section houses some placards here regarding your Husky foam system, but just underneath those you're going to find this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment only after they receive proper training. As we move to the American Flag Eagle Pierce logo, this is your large diameter pump intake, and then once again in the upper right hand corner, this is the 2.5-inch discharge male outlet. Moving to the right, you're going to find a placard here, the type of pump that you have. We'll go over that placard in a moment. And then just beneath that, you'll find your pump drain and then also your pump shift. Let's move all the way down to the lower left-hand side of the images here, where you'll find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Moving further to the right, you'll find your 2.5-inch female inlet. This is the driver's side auxiliary inlet. To the right, we've got a warning label here regarding pressurized caps, that they may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. And then just underneath that, we've got a warning label regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. Just to the right, you'll find your foam inlet. And then further to the right on the pan door, we do have a warning label here regarding do not ride on the side or climb on the side of your apparatus while it's in motion. Let's go over some close-ups real quick. Once again, pump intake and pump discharge. These are the two most upper gauges. Moving back down, you'll find the vacuum and pressure, test gauge ports, and then all of your switch panel, which we're going to find the OK to pump. If you've properly engaged your pump from the inside section of your cab, this light will be illuminating. We do have panel lights, driver side scene lights, passenger side scene lights, and a reel rewind. Let's go ahead and move back over to your intake relief valve. You can see there's instructions on the placard itself, and as we move further to the left, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left, you'll find the associated GPM with that test pressure, and on the right, you'll find the associated RPMs of that test pressure. Let's move further to the right. We'll talk a little bit about some of the modules within this area. First, starting with your large diameter passenger side discharge, you can see in the actual wheel, it's an indicator of 12-to-1 ratio for opening. Moving to the right, this is your Husky Foam System 3. The on-off button is in the upper left-hand corner. You'll also find increase and decrease in the gray and a prime button in orange with the digital readout on the left. The two indicators here, foam on the left is red A, and then water you'll find the blue indicator. Moving now to the throttle pressure governor, you'll find on the left a digital readout for your pump intake and a pump discharge, which will also be a digital readout. Moving down to the next module on the left-hand side, you'll find your RPMs, engine information, and diagnostic engine information in the LEDs below. Moving to the right-hand side of your throttle pressure governor, you'll find first the PSI or RPM indicator. It's the green area. As you match the green to the mode, you'll find you can either select PSI or RPM. To make that selection, you just simply push on the mode button and it will switch between the two. There are also an idle button in red. And as we move further down, you're going to find on the blue section, this is your menu button and also silence button. This will allow you to scroll through the various menu functions. On the right, you'll find increase and decrease, whether you're in PSI mode or RPM mode. You'll also find pump engaged indicators and OK to pump and throttle ready indicators at the bottom. At the very bottom section, you'll find this round speaker. This is an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen the sound. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, the lower section of the pump panel left side, you're going to find all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. As we move to the right-hand side, you're going to find your manual pump shift, in addition with your main pump drain, and also the placard regarding the type of pump that you have, which is a Hale. As we move to the pan door, you're going to find the instructions on the inside of the door that match the lever on the inside. First, in the horizontal foam position is for fill operations, and as you see, you can move to the level to the horizontal position after you've filled. Also inside, you'll find the foam drain in the upper right-hand corner. You can see now the lever on the left-hand side. Let's move to the body now, identify a few of the emergency lights within this area. We have upper and also lower section emergency lights. You'll also find a side-facing LED floodlight located on the rear section. In addition, two latches at the very top. This will allow you to gain access to your large diameter drafting tubes. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the compartments now inside. First, we're going to find at the very top section of this compartment, first starting on the far right-hand side, we'll find a 12-volt access point.
On the left-hand side, we're going to talk a little bit about this item. This is your battery charging system, but before we do, when plugged into shore power, your shoreline outlets throughout your vehicle will be activated. This is a 20 amp plug, which just happens to power your 12 volt battery charging system. Once again, it has to be plugged into shore power for these outlets to be active. On the opposite side, you'll find 12 volt access battery direct. Moving now just to the upper section, you'll find pegboard and LED lighting in this compartment. As we move downward, just in front of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location with retaining straps. As we move to the rear section, you'll find a single bottle with retaining strap. Also, your ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, it's the silver cap. When you access the blue cap, it is your 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. At the rear section of this compartment, you'll find a pull-out tray. The release mechanism is on the lower right-hand side. Let's go ahead and move from this location now all the way around to the very rear section of your apparatus. We'll identify a few of those items also. First, starting at the very top, rear section, side-facing floodlight. As we move further to the back, you'll find your emergency warning light at the top, 360 degrees, and also a backup light at the very top, which is white in color. Let's start at the rear of the apparatus, starting first with, at the very top of this image, you're going to find an emergency warning light, a brake light, a turn, and a reverse light. Moving up from that, on the driver's side, you'll find two switches. We'll go over those in a moment. You'll also find a rear-facing LED indicator for your water tank level. Just above that, on the passenger and driver's side, you'll find emergency warning lights rear-facing. Let's go ahead and go back down from this location to the tailboard. On passenger and driver's side, you'll find on the notch a fold-down step, which allows you to gain access to the next step up to the hose bed area. In the very center, you'll find your traffic advisor. As we move to the left of the traffic advisor, on the driver's side, you'll find a 2.5 inch discharge. Moving all the way to the top of the apparatus, you'll find your floodlights for the rear scene lights. And then at the very top, we'll find your equipment rack, and we'll go over that in just a few moments. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. First, passenger and driver side, you'll find this light cluster housing emergency light, brake light, a turn light, and also reverse light. Up above that on the driver's side, you'll find the deck lights and also hose bed lights. These are the two switches that activate those. Close up here of the emergency warning light rear facing. Let's go back inside where you'll find your 2.5 inch discharge rear. And then also to the right, you'll find your traffic advisor. We do have a couple warning labels in this area. First, a pressure hazard warning label in the upper right-hand corner, and then also a fall hazard warning label. Also on the far right-hand side of this image, you'll find an entanglement hazard and also a do not ride on the rear of the apparatus while it's in motion. Let's go ahead and just move down from this location. I'll point out these folding steps. You can see when they're folded down, it has exposed the LED light in the very top portion next to the two bolts. This is going to be the passenger side, same thing, folding step LED light. As we move inside, you'll find a roll-up door and also adjustable shelving and LED lighting in the rear compartment. As we look to the hose bed area, you'll find a single hose bed divider. It is movable from right to left. And as we look to the very top section, we're pointing out the white floodlight, which is rear facing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the side of the apparatus. We'll identify a few of the items, and then we'll go over a couple other items as we move toward the cab. First, let's start down at the very bottom. This is a warning label regarding your exhaust. Be very cautious where you park your vehicle. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Identifying the emergency lights side facing in this area. As we move to the very top, you'll also find that side facing rear body floodlight. Moving from this location, at the very top, we'll talk a little bit about your equipment rack and the contents within that as I get a little bit closer to some of the items, identifying those on the top of the truck. We're focused here on the side-facing floodlight. As we move into the compartments, you'll find at the very bottom a pull-out tray. The release is on the right-hand side. This compartment also houses a 12-volt battery direct access. In addition, on the side rear of the axle, 3 SCBA bottle storage locations with retaining straps. Moving back up into the center compartment, you'll find a D handle, allows you to gain access to the tool board. On the hinge side, you'll also find the release mechanism. It does have a little black handle on it where you can lift up to return it back to its normal stored position. Just in front of the axle, you'll find 3 SCBA bottle storage locations with retaining straps. Now, as we look to the very forward compartment, you'll find an adjustable shelving, ventilation, and also LED lighting. General view here of the entire side of your apparatus. Let's go ahead and move from this location to the pump panel area, starting in the upper portion where we've already talked about the pre-connects. There are 3 in a dead load. And we'll also point out, because of those dead load and that pre-connect, there is a entanglement hazard warning label. We do have two access panels. First, a pan door access panel, and then also a kind of like an L-shaped access panel, which we'll go over in a few moments. You do have a 2.5-inch discharge located on this side. As we move just to the right of that location, you'll find the green large diameter pump discharge for the passenger side. The gray module is going to be your powered equipment rack. There are instructions and also some warning labels on it. As we move to the forward module, this is going to be your cab tilt. Make sure all items are secured within the cab prior to tilting. As we move down, you'll once again find a pressure hazard warning. This is once again because caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. The American flag Eagle Pierce logo is your large diameter passenger side intake. It is capped. And as we move to the right, this is the passenger side 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Across the very bottom, you'll find all of your color-coded and discharge drains. In the running board area, you'll also find a hose storage area with dry deck material. Just a quick look here at the top section. This is your pre-connected hose area. Once again, 3 plus a dead load. Now with the grid down, we have a little bit better access. We can see more of this also. We're now to the gray area, the powered equipment rack. We do have danger and also warning information here, and also instructions. As we move to the right, just a quick look at that warning label regarding pressure hazard. As we move down inside the running board, you'll find that tubbed storage location, dry deck material. Let's move back now. This is the compartment with it in the open position, which gains you access to inside the pump panel area. Let's go ahead and move now to the cab of the apparatus, first starting in the lower left-hand corner of the image with an emergency warning light. Just up from this location, you'll find a side-facing LED tank level indicator. As we move forward, you'll find just on the notch here a side-facing floodlight. And as we move down first to the lower section, where you'll find along the rear wall this D handle, which gains access into the long compartment at the rear wall area. As we move forward from this location, you'll find just behind the officer seat an additional storage area. There are 2 shelves inside this, in addition with LED lighting and also a 12-volt access direct battery. From this location, let's go back to the rear wall. You can see that we've got inside the compartment now long tool storage area. And as we move from this location, you can see we already have a mounted tool inside this area and a protector bottom plate at the very bottom. We're inside the cab area now. You can see the material covering the opening here. This is netting material, which is easily accessed by releasing the cam buckles. There are 2 forward-facing rear seats. There are headsets on the passenger and driver side locations. As we move now to the tunnel area, you'll find the 2 tubes. Those are for your air conditioning drains. And as we move down lower, you'll find rear access for daily checks for oil and transmission. Over the top of those passenger and driver side compartments, you will find an additional compartment that does have LED lighting. Let's go ahead and move now to the officer's area. Let's first start with the door panel. All door panels on your apparatus are going to have a set of warning labels affixed to the door panel, as you can see here. As we move to the A pillar, just in front of the door panel, is where you're going to find your fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag. There is a warning label here regarding mounting of equipment and not to mount it within the vicinity of your airbag. In the upper left, we do have some indicators here for push buttons for your siren and also air horn. Underneath the officer seat, you'll find storage location. Just a quick look here at the A pillar. This is the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid once again. And as we look back to the center section, you'll find your air horn and mechanical siren push buttons. Let's go ahead and look overhead. Push on and off white or red lenses. As we move to the components within the dash area at the top, you'll find your FireCom module on the far right-hand side, officer area. As we move just to the left of that location, you'll find a set of rocker switches. Those switches are for your front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, the side scene lights. You've got a future switch location if necessary, and also your Opticom momentary switch. Moving down to the engine cowling area or tunnel, you're going to find your siren and PA speaker system. Moving now to the driver's area, you're going to find once again affixed to the door panel all of your warning labels. You'll also find down in the lower right-hand corner of this image your battery indicator. We'll go over that in a moment. And then also this yellow placard, which I'll go over in the next few moments. Let's go back to the battery voltage indicator. When plugged into shore power from the exterior, you'll find that this is active and charging your batteries. You'll also find you have an air inlet and a shoreline inlet, which is a 20 amp auto eject plug. Back to the yellow placard. This is manufactured for your department, North County Regional Fire Authority. It has the date of manufacture, the job number, gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, and all of its fluid capacities for the component and fluid type. Let's move to the floorboard area where you'll find your mechanical siren foot pedal. To the right of that, brake treadle and also accelerator. Moving to the left, about the left knee, you'll find the silver master battery switch. To the right, you'll find two modules. First, the tech module, and then also the engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port. As we move down, you'll find some switches here and indicators. This is your ABS diagnostic, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit, and then also a display port. Now to the left-hand side of the steering column, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions here from road to pump and also from pump to road. Just as a reminder, you need two green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump when exiting the cab for pump operations. Let's move to the opposite side of the column, where you're going to find your ignition and start switch. They're on the far left-hand side of the column. You'll also find a small switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master, and also your headlights, and then also a panel switch, which allows you to brighten or dim the lights within the preview of the operator. To the right-hand side of the column is where you'll find the OK to engage your high idle and indicator light. Also, you'll find your flat mirror and convex mirror just slightly to the right of that. Let's go over the dash, first starting on the left with your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temperature. You'll find volts, fuel, front and rear air on the right-hand side, tachometer and speedometer in the center, diagnostic information displays above and below the speedometer. Let's move slightly to the right, general view here. This is your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information right at your fingertips. Please see your owner's manual for more information on this. You'll also find the yellow pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. To the right, you'll find your Allison digital transmission pad with an informational note that says pump in drive. Let's go over some switches that are just above that. You'll find an engine brake switch, which is an on and off, a setting switch for that engine brake for low, medium, and high. You have a front wheel lock, a future switch location, a selector switch for horn, siren, or horn, and also a mirror heat. To the right, you'll find your windshield wiper, push to apply fluid, right to left will turn on and off. Toward the center, you'll find your climate control, and just underneath that, you'll find 12-volt access via USB style. Overhead, you'll find this placard. Over the driver's head, 10 feet 0 inches, length 32 feet 8.25 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 43,500 pounds. If you make any adjustments to your apparatus, please update this placard. Let's move to the right of this location. We'll find a set of switches. First, starting on the left with the emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have engaged that function, the green indicator will illuminate. Let's move just to the right of this location where we have an additional module. This is your traffic advisor module. The power is on the left, the function's in the center, and you also have an indicator. Moving to the right of that module, you'll find the red siren brake switch, some additional switches for front flood, driver's side flood, passenger side flood, scene side lights, and also a load manager. From this location, let's go ahead and just take a quick look to the rear where you can see the two seats located in the center, red seat belts, and now we're at the top of the apparatus in the dunnage area. You'll find these yellow diamonds around the walking surface area. In the center, you'll find your top fill location for your water tank, and to the rear section of this image, toward the front of the apparatus, is where you're going to find your foam fill operations for foam tank A. There's also a warning label on it not to mix different brands or consistencies of foam for foam failure. Let's stay within the dunnage area where you'll find your booster line or red line. There is a manual rewind location here for the tool, and then just beside it, the silver area, you'll find a tensioning nut or a free spool. This is your master stream device located in the center. As we move to the very far right-hand side, we're going to identify a few things within this area. This is your Husky foam system area and also your hydraulic reservoir. This is the fill location for your Husky 3 foam system hydraulic reservoir. As we look inside the pan door, you'll find your equipment rack hydraulic reservoir. There are also instructions here on the type of and oil viscosity. foam hydraulic oil reservoir, once again for your Husky 3 foam system. You do have a 28-foot extension, 14-foot roof, and a 10-foot folding, and then also 2 tubes here for pike poles. Let's move from this location to the very front of your apparatus. This is a non-walking surface. That's why we have these 2 warning labels here. It's extremely slippery. Do not walk on this area. I do have a few more additional images here for you to see. I do have some warning labels and also some danger labels. Pay close attention to those while operating within this area. I'll go ahead and let you take a look at these images and we'll come back to you at the very end. Once again, congratulations, North County, Washington, on your new Pierce fire apparatus. If you have any questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.